Hey listeners, did you know that Yogi Triathlete offers endurance coaching for body and mind? We offer personalized training plans for endurance sports, wellness and mindset, nutrition and recovery guidance, and race preparation and strategy, all within the supportive community of Team Yogi Triathlete. So if you're ready to conquer your fitness goals and push your limits, our endurance coaches are ready to guide you on the journey to peak performance. Go to yogitriathlete.com today to set up your free 30-minute discovery call and embrace a future of strength, stamina, and achievement. Your goals, our experience, the perfect match for unstoppable success.
Human beings are unlimited in our capacities and our potentials. We all have unlimited capacity within ourselves to expand and to ultimately, realize the highest within ourselves. And because we all have unlimited potentials and capacities, and we all have a soul, we all have our own special gifts that we came into the world to offer to humanity. And if we don't do that, we're not really fulfilled, or we're not really satisfied. Races as a great vehicle for us as individuals to bring out the best in ourselves, because if you can go out running by yourself and it's beautiful to do that, but to go beyond yourself, to run your fastest time or to run longer than you've run before, or whatever the act of transcendence is, when we're together we're stronger, and we push ourselves more.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 395 of the Yogi Triathlete podcast. We are your hosts, Jess and BJ. Thank you for tuning in. We're happy to have you with us alongside our guest today, Harita Davies. We connected with Harita last month after she completed the 3,100-mile Self-Transcendence foot race in New York after 51 days, 16 hours, 42 minutes, and 11 seconds. This was her fourth finish. Founded in 1997 by Sri Chinmoy, the Self-Transcendence event is the world's longest certified race, although the course itself may surprise you. Sri Chinmoy was an Indian spiritual leader who moved to New York City in 1964 to teach meditation and spirituality. He lived a life dedicated to serving humanity, and he was also an athlete who valued athletics as an essential piece of a balanced spiritual life. From my research, his legacy in sport began with running, but in the end, it far surpassed this single sport. In his later years, before Sri moved on from this world, he blew away humanity with his epic feats of strength in weightlifting, and his marathon team has since moved into marathon swimming and triathlon events worldwide. But as I continue to learn, he didn't draw the line at meditation athletics. He was also an artist, a musician, and so much more. We're sitting down with Harita in person at the Sri Chinmoy Center in San Diego after sharing a beautiful lunch at Jyoti Bianga, the oldest vegetarian restaurant in San Diego and a part of the center. It was absolutely delicious. Oh my gosh. We're so excited to dive into this conversation and see where it takes us. I see at this point that the possibilities are endless. Harita, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to come out of the really chill vibe in this place right now, looking at this artwork and listening to the music. And there's so much we want to dive into with the physical aspects of things. But let's check in with how you're doing post-run, because you recently completed it, 3,100 miles. How are you doing physically and mentally?
I think I'm doing pretty well, considering. Yeah, this is my fourth time doing it, so it's my fourth time also recovering from doing the race. And so, anyone who's an athlete knows that, the first time you do a marathon, your body's like, oh my God, how am I going to recover from this? And then the more you do, your body kind of has like some stored up resources of like what it has to do to recover. So I think it's like that. And I've also really learned that you just have to really give yourself time. Yeah, it's a long time to be doing the same thing and then to be kind of coming back into the world. Just to kind of, Sri Chinmoy said that his advice was to eat voraciously and while eating to really offer your gratitude to the Supreme that you had the opportunity to do something like this. And so that's I've really seen that the eating part comes pretty naturally and easily. And I lost 20 pounds. I usually lose about 20 pounds doing it. So it's I've put most of that back on now. But the gratitude is as we're more and more aware of, gratitude is just like this magical quality to enhance our lives in every way. So I really this time have really tried to focus on that and just be just not expect too much from myself and just to be really grateful for everything. So I think I'm doing pretty well.
Does it help to be out in Southern California in the sun and sand?
Definitely. One of the, I think your nerves are, for me, that they take the longest time to heal. Like you can't really handle stress too much or anything too intense. So it's definitely nice to be here.
Well, tell us about this race. I think we should just dive right into what does it entail? How long has it been going on? And what have you taken away from it? Let's start with what it is.
Okay, there's so many things you could say about the race. So it's been happening for 27 years. So this race that we just did was the 27th edition of it. And it's happened, actually every year, amazingly. And it's 3,100 miles. And Sri Chinmoy was born in 1931, so the number 31 to him was a significant number. People always ask why 3,100 miles. It happens to be just short of 5,000 kilometers, which is quite handy because a lot of people, they'll do the race and then you just have to run 13 more laps and you've finished 5,000 kilometers. So most people do that because if you've already run, that far, you might as well. It's around a loop in Jamaica, Queens, which is just over half a mile. So you have to run 5,600 and something times around that loop to finish the race. There's a school inside that loop called Thomas Edison High School. There's a playground, there's a handball courts, there's a big soccer field, and there's no houses on that loop, so there's no driveways and there's no roads coming into it. So it's a really good loop in that way. A lot of people come out there walking, and as well as all of the school children. Yeah.
What kind of weather did you encounter in this most recent one?
So, one interesting thing is that for the first 25 or 24 years, I guess, this race was held in the middle of summer. It was always held it would always start on Father's Day. So it was kind of June, July, August. So it was always heat waves and everything. They just moved it to September, initially after COVID, and then as the weather has got hotter over the years, it's been a bit more scary, with the heat waves, and for the directors, they'd be kind of nervous. So now the weather is cooler, but August was really mild in New York, and then when the race started, there was a heat wave for the first 10 days of the race. So we thought, it's going to be such nice weather, and then it was totally hot for, I think about 10 days, and then we also had huge amounts of rain, a lot of rain that was just kind of relentless and went on and on. So, those were challenging. It never got too cold, so that was good, because it finishes in mid-October, so it could get pretty cold. But those were the main weather features of this race.
So all of the races are the self-transcendence races. Mm-hmm. So for somebody who's curious about how you would define what self-transcendence is, what was the concept behind it that really fueled this whole athletic events, all these events that are now across the world? What is self-transcendence?
So self-transcendence is really going beyond yourself and being the best that you can be, or doing the best that you can do, and Sri Chinmoy, his life was dedicated to peace. His philosophy was always founded on world peace, starting on an individual level. So he gave tremendous significance and importance to each one of us as individuals, really taking responsibility for ourselves and our own peace, and feeling that if we can have peace in our lives, peace and happiness and fulfillment all go together. He really felt you really can't be happy without peace, and you can't be peaceful without happiness. Then if we can really find peace inside ourselves, then we are really contributing to making the world more peaceful. And he felt that human beings are unlimited in our capacities and our potentials. We all have unlimited capacity within ourselves to expand and to ultimately, realize the highest within ourselves. And that because we all have unlimited potentials and capacities, and we all have a soul, we all have our own special gifts that we came into the world to offer to humanity. And if we don't do that, we're not really fulfilled, or we're not really satisfied. So if we just stay the same, we're not really going to feel fulfillment. We're not really going to feel real happiness and real satisfaction. And I think that's somewhere that the world can often go a little wrong at the moment, is that people really sort of look for this life of ultimate comfort, and think that will make them happy. If you have all these things and you have this perfect, you have all the money that you need and everything, but then people get all of these things and they find themselves quite unsatisfied. And so self-transcendence is really recognizing, and the philosophy of the self-transcendence races is really recognizing that real happiness and fulfillment will really only come from constantly expanding ourselves and going beyond our capacity and going beyond where we are now, and kind of tapping into the thrill and, deep sense of satisfaction you get when you do push yourself and struggle. And anybody who's a marathon's the best analogy of that, because it's something that people, everybody knows about marathons. Everyone knows that it's, you have to struggle to run a marathon. No matter how many marathons you run, it's never going to be easy to run a marathon. And, most people, the first time they do it, it's just awful, and yet they go out and do it again and again, and now you see humanity. I mean, I live in New York. I just went to chair in Queens for the New York City Marathon, 50,000 people, running a marathon. I mean, it's just so thrilling that running a marathon has now become something that really anybody feels that they can do if they set their mind to it, and they want to, because they just feel so good when they do. And now ultra marathon running has become such a big thing, and to me, it's all based on the sense of satisfaction that you get when you transcend yourself. And so it's not competing. It's about the goal is not to compete with anybody else, but the goal is to compete with yourself. But if we do things together in a race, then it inspires us to bring forward the best in ourselves. So Sri Chinmoy saw races as a great vehicle for us as individuals to bring out the best in ourselves. Because if you can go out running by yourself, and it's beautiful to do that, but to really to go beyond yourself, to run your fastest time, or to run longer than you run before, or whatever the act of transcendence is, when we're together, we're stronger, and it really we push ourselves more. So he loved and there's many aspects, but he loved the running as an analogy for life as well. So he spoke a lot about the inner running and the outer running, and that if we run outwardly, the qualities that we get benefit our inner life as well, in terms of becoming a better person, a deeper person, having more peace. And then likewise, if we practice meditation, if we, inwardly, grow and nourish ourselves, then those inner qualities will really help us in our outer running also, which is what you guys are all about with the Yogi Triathlete. So it's perfect.
I know. It is what we're all about. It truly is. And because we're like you, we're living it, and I do remember, and I'm grateful that I remember a time before meditation, and I feel really grateful to feel so strong in my resolve that there there will not be another life here for me in this lifetime where there is no meditation. Like it's just such a non-negotiable. It's, one of my favorite times of the day, just waking up and knowing that I get to just be still. But it wasn't always like that. And so, well, before I ask you that, because I know we'll get into your meditation story, I want to stay with the race. In this particular race, the 2023 race that you just did, do you come up against, self-transcendence seems like such a big thing, but I also think it's like in all the little things too, right? The mental preferences, it's raining, maybe there's a voice in the head that says it doesn't want it to rain. Like, did you come up against those sort of obstacles throughout your day? Or is it just more smooth for you? Is there a mental battle or is there not a mental battle?
Sure. I mean, yeah, of course, because it's life. This race is, and we're human beings. We're not perfect, and I've done this race a few times, but, it's like anybody who practices meditation. It's like, oh, so now you've been doing meditation for a few years. Do you just I guess you just sit there and you don't have to worry about your thoughts? And you're like, no, you have to battle with your thoughts every day, And this every moment is challenging, but at every moment at the same time, I guess from my practice of meditation, then I really have a lot more confidence that there is a higher force that's guiding the whole experience, and that I just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and just doing my best, and having faith that it is part of a flow, and that the challenges are meant to be there and the obstacles are meant to be there. Like in life, you can't avoid obstacles. If you try to live a life without obstacles, or, then you're just going to constantly run into them. But if you just embrace them as part of life and know that they're going to help to make you stronger, and that you will be given, if you face them, that you do have the capacity within yourself to overcome them. It won't always be obvious, and it definitely will never be easy. but it's all part of the journey. Yeah.
Comparing the first one to the fourth one that you've completed, do you feel better knowing what to expect, or was it easier going into that first one not knowing what to expect?
Probably a little bit of both, but at the same time, I think that there's a lot of strength and confidence, and there's a lot of strength and faith. And so the first time I did it, for me actually, the first time I did it, I don't think I'm like everybody, but I really didn't have any expectation of finishing it. And I still actually never have any expectation of finishing it when I'm doing it. I really had such a feeling in my heart to do it. And so I thought I would just start it. And if I lasted 3 days, I would be happy with myself. That race, it was a miracle for me to finish, but every race is a miracle, and this race was the one that I had done the least amount of training. I'd kind of had a bit of an injury for since the last time I did the 3100, so it really, in many ways, seemed crazy that I was doing the race this year, but I had a feeling to do it, so I had no expectation of what was going to happen to me. So it was just as much a miracle as the first time, but just as challenging in many ways. But there's definitely, I think a kind of confidence, even though I wasn't at all confident that I would finish it, just kind of a confidence that there was a higher force guiding it, and that my role was really just to, as much as I could, just to keep putting one foot in front of the other, stay as cheerful as I could, and just to do my best and to place the results at God's feet.
So you mentioned faith a few times too here, just having that trust and not, and especially with injuries, not looking at the evidence of now, but in something else, something different, something higher. Where does that come from?
That comes from my practice of meditation, for sure. Yeah. And from something that that I just know that it's how I get through my life. This race is just like a really, really intensified, condensed version of life. And so everything that you need for life, you need in this race, but you need it in a more intense way. And that's kind of what makes it so beautiful and gives you a very deep experience, I think, because for me to get through life, I know that, from my life experience, I know that I, need to stay positive. I know that I need to have gratitude. I know that I need to have faith. And I know that I need to put in, some work myself. I can't just expect to wake up happy every day. I need to practice my meditation. I need to do my physical exercise, eat well. I know all those things. But, at the same time, you can kind of, in regular life, you're not like on an intense schedule all the time, but in this race, you really are. So that really amplifies the need to remember those spiritual qualities as being the absolute foundation for every moment of you being able to do it, which is it's very intense because it's like, such an intense kind of time frame, but at the same time, it's a real blessing to not have to think about anything else. You just have to focus on at every moment, just putting one foot in front of the other and covering the miles that you need to cover.
Yeah, I think that's, as athletes, and we work with a lot of athletes too in the endurance realm, not the 3,100 miles or 52 days, but it's that practice of what the mind is most familiar with. And so as you progress deeper into an endurance sports, the body and the mind get tired and will default to what you practice. So again, if you're not practicing the elements of, I wouldn't say controlling the mind, but finding that relationship with the mind, understanding the thoughts. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you may have witnessed some other runners or some other athletes that may have not managed it as well and fed into the doubt and the fear. Mm-hmm. And then you see that take a different direction. So I guess my question is how important is that? How important is it to have that outside practice so that in those moments when you're butting up against that fear and doubt, that you know that you're going to be able to stay the course, even though you're depleted on calories, probably really fatigued, maybe even working through some injury during these races.
Yeah, you always get injuries. Basically, you've always got some kind of injury happening.
You can't not, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine doing the race without a practice of meditation. I would never have the confidence to even consider it. And so for me, that's everything. And people who some people who do, start the race and complete it or take part in it, at least without a practice of meditation, I'm like, well, they're really brave. They're braver than me because I would never even, I'm like, wow, why are they here? Like what would make you and also, so many people say, how do you not get bored? How could you not get bored, like running around the same place and seeing the same thing? And boredom doesn't really come into it, mostly to me, but I would imagine that if you didn't have a strong spiritual practice, then that would be a lot harder. Yeah, because controlling your mind, or, I learned meditation with Sri Chinmoy, and so his basis of his philosophy was to go into the heart and to really try to live from the heart, and so not to be like kind of stuck on trying to control the thoughts of the mind, but to take yourself somewhere else, and that the heart is the home of your soul, the home of your higher self, the home of all of your capacities, all of your love and your patience and your faith and your humility and all the qualities that you need are inside your heart. And so if you can bring your focus down from the mind to the heart, like going from the surface of the ocean to the depths of the ocean, then you can find everything you need there.
Yeah, very similar to how we've been taught meditation and it's not about stopping the thoughts. You know, the mind is a thought-producing machine. So if you're having thoughts, well, then your mind is working. That's great. But it's training yourself to put your awareness on something other than all of those thoughts.
Yes.
And something that I've found over the years, and it wasn't at first, but it's definitely sustained now, is, you know, when it gets really difficult in a race or the body is starting to break down and, you know, you've got that voice that's like, you know, just throw in the towel. I find that there's like this, I don't know, I guess I call her like my meditative self. Like she's just there. Like it's not like motivation that's like fleeting and never there when you need it, you know, but there's just this, it's like this stability. It's this foundation of stability and calmness where even amid all, you know, thoughts of, you know, pain or suffering, that I can, you know, I can tap into that. And I'm curious of how your meditative self or your supreme self, how you've been able to identify it showing up in races and in tough moments.
Yeah, I guess a little in a similar way that there is just, I think also knowing that that's who I really am.
Yeah, it's like there's something else available
yes.
to you, and that one feels more like home.
Yeah, and I guess I would, you know, say that my soul is my higher self, and Sri Chinmoy talked about us all as human beings having kind of 5 parts to our being, like the body's like the youngest member of the family, then there's the mind, and then there's the vital, and then there's the heart, and then there's the soul, and they're all like members of the same family, and we need to kind of bring them all together and bring light into all of them. And so when we do these races, it's kind of an incredible opportunity to do that, because you need all these parts of your being, and we need them, you know, we need them all to be working together. The vital's kind of like the engine where all your energy comes from, and then the mind, you know, needs to have peace, and then the body is just like, the body just needs to keep going. The body's always like, you know. So, and then the soul is just like the, you know, the grandparent, like the wisest, the grandparent, or like the baby, you know, like the newborn child at the same time, just kind of like the, you know, with all of the wisdom of the divinity of the universe, you know, the part of yourself that's connected with God or with the universal consciousness, and, you know, has all of the wisdom and all of the divine qualities that you need to do it. And one interesting way that I've sort of felt of like identifying with my soul, I guess, is that when you're doing this race, you know that your body is really suffering, and you know that your mind is really suffering, and yet you feel this kind of happiness, you know, this like, and you're like, how could I feel happy? And people look at you and they're like, wow, you just look so happy. And you're like, well, my mind is having a really, really hard time, and my body is like really suffering. So the happiness is clearly not coming from my body or from my mind. So it has to be coming from my soul, you know? So clearly my soul is really enjoying this experience.
Just watching it all go down.
Yeah.
I love that idea of all the 5 parts. And that's some advice that I've received from my teacher going into a race years ago. I remember I would, you know, have a session with him and, okay, what's my spiritual strategy for this Ironman? And I remember one time he said, your only focus for this whole race is to get all your faculties moving in the same direction, which is probably very much what you were just talking about. Get the whole crew going in the same direction. And he said, and you will have flow. Yeah.
And so that just comes down to letting the soul guide you, right? And then just, and then focusing, just kind of, putting your focus in your soul, whether you can feel it or not, and just knowing, having that faith, that knowing, because, you know, so often in life we're not aware, we're not able to, you know, we're not able to tap into that divinity within ourselves. We're not able to feel it. We just kind of feel all we can identify with is our mind or our body. And but just knowing that even if even if you can't identify with it or you can't feel it, that it is there and it is guiding you and it is taking care of everything, and you just are going through the human experience.
Yeah, and the mind and body are so obvious.
Yes.
And they're so loud. And you look in a mirror and all you see is the body. You know, so it makes sense that we're so identified with these things, and they're loud and they cry and they scream and they complain and they get hurt and they need to be rested and fed and cleaned and all of this stuff. All the while, that more supreme, higher mind self is just happy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly that was a realization at one point that I had during the 3100, was just that how deeply we identify with our minds and our bodies. Like, as soon as you wake up in the morning, you're like, how am I? And your how am I is basically like, how does your body feel? Or, you know, like, oh, I've got a headache, or I've got a stomach ache, or I've got like sore legs, or, you know, or I'm stressed, I'm angry about something, I'm upset about something, you know, which is all coming from the mind. And those are our, like, how we identify with how we are from the moment we wake up. But actually, if we say like, oh, that's just my mind and my body, I'm actually my soul. So how's my soul today? You know, then you'll probably most of the time be like, oh, my soul's like excited about a new day.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hey, thanks for inviting me to the party. Yeah, I'm all good over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's that cultivation. It's the cultivation time and again from the sitting practice. I mean, it really is. It's like it's bringing this really quiet, although ever powerful self more into, like, having more robustness within this life of humans, you know, on in this world. So, how many pairs of shoes did you go through?
Yeah,
let's bring it back, folks. You're welcome. How many pairs of shoes did you go through?
So this race, I think, was like a record in the amount of shoes. Like, I think it was in the lower amount. I mean, I think it was about 13 pairs of shoes.
How do you know when it's time
to change my shoes?
Yeah. Like, do you go by miles, or no, obviously not, because it changes.
Yeah.
So do you go by feel? Like, how do you know?
Yeah, shoes are, for basically any 3100 runner, you can talk to them about shoes and they'll be like, because your shoes, you know, like, there's all these companies that spend billions of dollars on making shoes, and you really never find a pair of shoes that you're happy with. I haven't anyway. And so they really are very, very difficult part of the race, because your feet are just so not enjoying the fact that you're running on them, like, you know, 18 hours a day. Yeah. So, so basically you might always in your regular life wear a particular kind of shoes, but in this race those shoes might not work at all. I mean, in my regular life I like really minimal shoes, like zero shoes, but I obviously can't wear anything like that in this race. I've got different shoes that I've used. I started off the race with, it's usually good to have a few different brands, because just to give some variety to the bottom of your feet, because you're you're running so much. So I started off with 3 different brands of shoes, but then after, I can't remember, at some point I got an Achilles injury. Did I get an Achilles injury? Oh no, I got a tendon injury. I got a tendon on the front of my leg, actually. And then I felt like that there was one brand which was Ultras that were maybe better than the other one. So then I actually ran the whole rest of the race just in Ultras. So I had some other shoes, my New Balance shoes and another brand that I was using that I didn't, it's not that the shoes were worn out, but I didn't use them anymore. Yeah. And then then I've never done the race for so long in just one brand of shoe. But yeah, that just kind of seemed to be working for me. So then at some point I would usually have 3 to 4 pairs of shoes in rotation in one day. So I have 3 breaks each day, and then I would wear each pair of shoes for for a quarter of the day. And then so that the shoes, it's actually quite important to give the shoes some rest, so then they can maintain their maintain some of the cushion that they have more easily. So I'd be constantly, changing them around. Then, of course, it rained a lot, so your shoes are getting wet, and the rain is a challenge for blisters and for the skin on your bottom of your feet, but it's also a challenge for all of the small tendons in your feet, because your shoes get heavier, and then it's just like extra weight that your tendons that are already really sensitive are carrying. So a lot of people, that's one thing when it rains, is that you want to keep changing your shoes so that you're not running in these really heavy wet shoes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a load of questions we can go down the road with shoes and that area, but it just shows the importance of taking care of your feet, because if that is not taken care of, then you're pretty much, I don't know what you're doing, handstand the whole way, or trying to figure it out. Do you have massage therapists and people on hand to kind of help with the body and flushing it out? Is that a possibility? Or
a little. We're like a little. This race, you'd think you'd have like the best massage therapist in the world, and not really. If there's anyone who wants to come and volunteer next year, go for it. We definitely have some people, and I had like personal helpers who would help me with that. You're definitely, your feet get the hardest time, and they, like you said, foot care is really, really important. So people have things that they do for their feet, and that's important. And at the end of the race, your feet are just like, my toes get blisters on the ends of them really easily, and so my toes were like, definitely not in very good shape for most of the race. But I've always been lucky, I think, in pretty much every race at the bottom of my feet I've managed to take really good care of, and I haven't got blisters. Some people have got terrible blisters. Some people have even had to pull out, because of the blisters that they get on the bottom of their feet. So, toes you can deal with, but the bottom of your feet, if you get bad blisters, then it's hard for them to heal, and that's,
And that has nothing to do with fitness either. Nothing.
That has nothing to do with fitness.
So it doesn't matter if you can complete it if you physically can't step down on your foot.
Right.
Yeah, it's so debilitating.
Yeah.
Especially adding the rain element to it.
Yeah.
As well. And then it gets humid in New York, super humid. What about nutrition? We'll talk a little bit about nutrition. What did you, do you have a plan going into something like this? Or is it kind of like, whatever I'm craving, I'm just going to grab and eat? What's your game plan?
Yeah, so I'm vegetarian. All of the food supplied to the race is vegetarian. There's an incredible team of people cooking food for us in the race. It's unbelievable, the amount of food and the variety and the love and care that goes into the food. And probably working in the kitchen is, pretty close to running the race, the challenge of it. People get up at 2:30 in the morning and start cooking, and then it goes until the end of the day. So there's a lot of food that's on offer. I always have some degree of a plan, but I know that the feet are a challenge, but the stomach for me and for everyone, the stomach's a challenge. For women, the stomach is always more of a challenge. There's a variety of reasons for that we could go into if you want to, but anyway, it's just a fact. And like I said, I usually lose about 20 pounds, and you could think, this is an incredible opportunity to eat anything you want, and in theory it is, but in reality your stomach becomes so sensitive that there's so many foods that you would normally love that you can't eat, and I'm like a nightmare for my helpers to feed, because they see me kind of losing weight, and I'm it's so hard for me to eat. I try to eat as much alkaline food as possible. Try to obviously get get really good electrolytes, and eat as much protein as I can, and simple foods. Eating regularly. I take some kind of supplements, but you can also get supplements can be hard for your body to digest as well, and they can be kind of trouble too. So it's kind of finding that balance between, usually I have someone doing kinesiology who can tell me actually what's useful, because otherwise, everyone will bring you out hundreds of dollars worth of the most incredible, scientifically advanced supplements, and you're like, I mean, the supplement world in athletics is out of control, and so you could be taking all these things that are, cost so much money and are supposed to be good for you, and they, you're like, I don't know if this is helping me at all. The main thing is to really try to get, good protein and carbohydrates and calories, really. Yeah.
So just for our listeners, it goes from 6 in the morning till 12 at night, typically, right? But you can sleep into the day if you need more sleep, right? Or do you have to get up and every day start at 6 a.m.?
You have to be at the start line at 6 a.m.
Okay.
And then there's no sleeping in. Yeah.
No snooze.
You don't need to. You don't need to stay until midnight. But to finish the race, you need to average 59 miles a day. So if you, depending on where you are, most people stay out fairly late, because even if you're ahead of that, usually people would want to try to finish early. So the world record holder for the race, his name is Ashbrihan Aalto. He's from Finland. He averaged, when he broke the world record, he did it in 41 days, and he averaged 77 miles a day. Yeah.
Wow, that's so impressive. There's so much I want to get into, but I do have 2 follow-up questions, just little questions. Did I get that right, that you didn't have any blisters on your feet?
On the bottom of my feet,
On the bottom of your feet?
No, just on my toes I did have.
Do you use like a salve, or what do you use?
Yeah, so usually oiling your feet is the best thing.
Oh. What kind of oil do you use?
Sesame oil, coconut oil in summer. Coconut oil is cooling, and then sesame oil.
That sounds
olive
very
oil
Ayurvedic, of course.
Warming. Yeah,
oil your feet.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, and but a mixture. But often I would have some kind of thing that's a mixture of more like a thicker kind of. Combination of oils. Yeah, often something Ayurvedic that is that has a mixture of different oils in it, and maybe some herbs and stuff, more like a salve that's made from oils. But I used to always oil them, and then also in the summer we would use cornstarch a lot. Cornstarch is the kind of secret friend of a lot of ultra runners because it's really drying. So I always in the races use cornstarch, especially in the summer, because it helps to kind of really absorb the moisture, if your feet are sweating. But in this race I was doing that in the beginning, and then I stopped using the cornstarch and just used the oil.
I'm glad I asked that question. Now, do you make the oil remedy, or do you buy it somewhere?
I have a friend who makes things.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want some foot oil with herbs in it, please. Can I put my order in?
Yeah. We get, there's always kind of things going around that are this is the secret one that is going to help you, is going to solve all your problems.
Yeah, there's no trademarked name label on there. It's just someone whipping something up in their kitchen.
Yeah, something like that squirrel nut, if you've used that thing.
That's good. We love squirrel's nut butter.
Okay, so that kind of thing, if I don't have something that's made by some person who's specially making things for the 3100 race, then I would use that.
And what was what were some of the, I know we talked about the food, but we didn't talk about specifically what was working for you this time, rice or soup or nothing or gels. What was the food that you were able to get in? I mean, I know it's 52 days, so there's a lot that's happening between August 30th and October 20th, which is crazy. You guys listening, can you just imagine that? You start a race on August 30th and you're not going to be done. Forget about September. That's done. That's absorbed. You're not done until October 20th. But what were some of the things that you found, what are your tried and true?
Yeah. So smoothies, I mean, I could sort of say basically what I might have, in a day. I would start the day with a smoothie. I was always having green smoothies for the first month or something, and then I got really sick of those. So then I started having a cacao kind of peanut butter, sort of that kind of thing. But I have a protein, a really good protein mix that I would put in it, and then I would always have some greens and nut butter. I don't know, like a pretty substantial kind of smoothie at the start of the day, and then I would have. I was eating eggs. I wasn't eating eggs in the beginning, and then I was eating like eggs, avocado on toast. I was kind of having that like for a few weeks, and then at one point, probably after about 4 weeks, I was like, I'm so sick of eggs and avocado on toast. It's slimy and disgusting, and I don't want it anymore.
Ever again.
Yeah, ever again. Yeah.
Take it away.
Why was I having the same thing for so long? Yeah. Then I got into having just egg for a while, which that was good. But avocados in general are a really good food to have, like having those on toast. Actually, like cheese on toast is quite, and any kind of like version of sandwiches with kind of bread and cheese is actually like surprisingly easy to digest, with some avocado, tomato, or I don't know, different things like that. Soups, I was having like a miso kind of soup. I really like that stuff. Pumpfu, I don't know if you know that, it's like a pumpkin seed version of tofu, so it's high in protein and fat, and it's not so into soy things so much.
What's it called?
Pumpfu.
Pumpfu.
Okay. Yeah.
Check that out. Pumpfu.
I had that with miso soup with that.
Put
and
that on the
list. With some seaweed, is a good thing in things. I can't eat anything dry. Nuts are really good, but I'd have to have them like blended up or something. I'm really not good with dry things. Some people can eat crackers and that kind of thing. Some fruit, like I would eat mangoes. I have an Ayurvedic doctor who tells me that I have to eat a mango every day when I'm doing the race, because they make you really strong. They actually, if you eat mangoes every day, you don't need to take an iron supplement. I don't need to. I personally don't need to.
Put that on the list.
That's not the same for everybody. Yeah. So those are my a secret strengthening kind of food. Surprisingly Chinese food I find really easy to eat. Rice is definitely, in my regular life I don't eat so much rice, but that would be one thing that I would find, quite like the way that the, vegetables with tofu and rice is quite good. I'm really not into like bars and gels and stuff for this race. Generally I would eat bars and races, but not gels. They're too strong for me. But in the race, they're too dense. It's really hard for me to eat dense things. One thing that 3100 runners really have a lot of is ice cream, whether it's regular ice cream or vegan ice cream or whatever. It's a really good way to get a lot of calories and very easy to digest.
Yeah. It sounds smooth. Oh, good. Well, thank you for sharing. It sounds like a delicious menu of food. But it's that 3,100 miles in order to get that buffet. Let's back up to, I want to get a little bit of your background. You grew up in New Zealand. Mm-hmm. How did you get to New York City as a, devoted meditator and 3,100-mile runner? Like, where did it all begin? When did meditation come into your life?
Okay, so I grew up in New Zealand when I was about 20, just before my 20th birthday. I had done I did quite a lot of sport when I was younger. New Zealand is like, we often do a lot of sport. I did surf lifesaving and water polo were my main sports, and surf lifesaving is a big sport in New Zealand, or bigger than in America. And then I was kind of a depressed teenager and stressed, and I did some yoga. I looked into different things, looked a bit into different religions, and I always thought meditation looked really boring, but then by the time I was 20, I was like, I might as well try it because nothing else is working for me, because I was pretty depressed about the state of the world, and I felt like really, powerless to do anything about it. And so I went along to a free meditation workshop that was given by the Sri Chinmoy Center. I had previously done a tiny bit of meditation and yoga, but I usually fell asleep because you were like lying down in a dark room, and so that was not good for me. I went along to a free meditation workshop, and immediately I was really attracted to Sri Chinmoy's philosophy. I really loved the fact that he embraced all religions, and I really loved how much importance that he gave to the power of the individual, and that he really believed that if we wanted to make the world more peaceful, we didn't have to go and do some huge thing, in a war-torn country, that the most powerful thing we could do was to actually start with ourselves, and and that if we could find peace, and if we could meditate and find peace inside ourselves, that we were making the world more peaceful. And I was like, well, I can do that, because I just really wanted to be able to do something to help. To me, at that point in my life, that was really important. Like, what could I do? And I also was really, really struck by the hope that he had for humanity, because I had lost hope for humanity at that point. And when I saw him saying that he really believed that that the world one day will have peace, that the world is inherently good, that we all, humanity is good, and the hope that and I looked at him, in a video saying that, and I was like, he really means that. And I read his philosophy, and that just gave me so much encouragement, and I felt like there's something to live for. And so that was really, those aspects. And then also the fact that he gave so much importance to sport, because sport was something that had been important to me as a depressed teenager. I had certain moments where I, was so depressed all day, and then I would go to play a game of water polo, and I would feel great afterwards, and I'd be like, there's nothing else that made me feel good apart from the sport, So I really saw how sport could really help to bring me out of my depression or whatever. And so I really loved the fact that he gave so much importance to fitness and to sport. And so he talked a lot about the inner running and the outer running. So he at that time when I came along, everybody was, you meditated and you ran. That's kind of what the Sri Chinmoy Centre was about, from my understanding. And so, I was like, well, that works for me. I want to get fitter. I kind of had gotten out of shape, and so I started running. And so my running and meditation have always gone together for me. I basically started running as soon as I started meditating, and then pretty soon after I'd been meditating for less than a year, probably, I ran my first marathon, and I just really saw how the two go together so well. And so I did a 6-day race in the year 2000, and I ended up doing 3 6-day races and a 10-day race. And then, of course, coming to America, as a New Zealander, I never imagined living in America. It's not usually something that New Zealand is a place that we
they don't aspire
too excited about going to live in. But Sri Chinmoy was based in New York. I went to visit him twice a year, every year, from the moment I started meditating. We have celebrations or gatherings of his students from all around the world in New York City, and so basically I had all these plans to go traveling in Asia and India and everything, and I just ended up for many years just traveling to New York City, and that was so fulfilling to be able to be in his presence and with this international family from all over the world. And I got to make so many friends with people from countries that I'd never heard of before, and so we have this big international family, which is great. And then in the year 2011, I'm from the city of Christchurch. We had a big earthquake in our city, and so the restaurant that I was managing was closed down, and it has since reopened. But I came and spent some extended time in America, and then I in 2012 I took part in the American Peace Run. There's one of the Sri Chinmoy's visions called the Sri Chinmoy Oneness Home Peace Run. And so I always say that I kind of got tricked into falling in love with America, because I went all around, I spent 3 months going all around the United States, and I just met so many wonderful people and had a really incredible time. And then I just got, in my heart, I got such a strong feeling that this was where I was meant to be. Then, a couple of years later, I won the green card lottery, and and I became quite involved with the Peace Run. And so, that's how I've been really blessed by, I feel like I've been really blessed by America. I'm of course I'm still really proud to be a New Zealander, but there's, I've met so many wonderful people here and had so many wonderful opportunities, and we have a big Sri Chinmoy Centre in New York, so I'm based there, but I have friends all around the United States as well, and I really enjoy going on the peace run and meeting all these wonderful people in America. So that's how I got here.
It's just so interesting that like I told you at lunch that the 3100 came into my awareness, I don't know, not that long ago, but that there was this whole thing that was happening with meditation and athletics and, all, of course, spearheaded by Sri Chinmoy. Tell us a little bit more about, because it wasn't just running, and I did mention he was a weightlifter, but I mean, he was so much more than that. As we're sitting in this beautiful room at the Noble Learning Center right now in Normal Heights, San Diego, and we're surrounded by this gorgeous artwork, which you said is from him. And this is not his full collection.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about, as we're starting to wrap this up, we're getting to our hour, which went by so fast. I'd love to hear just a little bit more about how this guy was really just blowing minds all over the place with his abilities.
Right. Well, I mean, there's so much you could say about Sri Chinmoy, but he, everything that he did, I guess, came down to him trying to really just trying to do everything he could to inspire and encourage humanity to be the best that they could be, so that we as individuals could be happy and fulfilled and peaceful and make the world more peaceful and make the most progress that we could make. And so he felt that that everybody is inspired by different things. We're all different souls. We're all unique. We all have something different to offer. And that if he just did one thing, then that would just inspire one, a certain kind of person. So he really lived what he really lived his philosophy. So his philosophy was that as human beings, we are unbounded. We have so much capacity. There's so many different ways for the soul to express itself, and in through this human body. And so he expressed his soul's qualities through art, through music, through writing, through running and sport, through weightlifting, and just to kind of really show. And even in the weightlifting world, he lifted all different kinds of things. He lifted like the fattest person in the world, the tiniest horse, the biggest pumpkin, like cars. Like he
Nelson
Mandela. He lifted people. Yeah.
Did he lift Gorbachev? Because you said he really liked Gorbachev.
I think Gorbachev's wife did not let him lift him. Yeah.
I heard he lifted a plane. He lifted 800 pounds with one arm.
He lifted 7,000 pounds with one arm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That was after the 800.
That was a few weeks after the 800.
But it's not like he wrote one book. He wrote over 1,000 books, almost 30,000 songs, 100,000, pieces of art, and still had time to meditate every day.
Yeah. You can't conceive of all of the things that he did. And he still had so much time to spend with every person that he met, and so much love and concern for humanity. And he had pets, he had dogs and all different kinds of animals. He was just like, he was like the living embodiment of the possibilities that we have as human beings when we practice meditation, and when we go beyond the mind, and when we tap into this like endless source of energy and creativity and self-offering that we have. And it all came back to just to trying to inspire people, and through his own outpouring, just showing how much we all have. And he was never saying, I can do this and you can't. He was always saying, it's only because of my meditation and because of my spirituality that I'm able to do this. And if you practice prayer and meditation, if you believe in yourself, if you really identify with your soul, if you transcend yourself and be the best, aspire, and really pray to be able to do something for humanity, then we're all we're all unbounded. We all have, but that we're all different as well. We're not all meant to go out and run 3,100 miles. He never said that, but he was, that's, I guess, one of the aspects of it that that is the most fulfilling, and the reason that I would do it the most, do the 3,100, is that I see how much it inspires people not to go out and run 3,100 miles, but to, in their own lives, do something more that will give them satisfaction and fulfillment. And so that, yeah.
Yeah, and whatever that thing is, it could be 3,100 miles, could be 3 miles a week, could be whatever. Mm-hmm. But that's just the element or the pursuit to do something bigger than we think, bigger than the mind can conceive. Did he ever share anything about complacency and the comfort of, or being challenged with the comfort of what is? Because I think that, in my opinion, that's what's holding us back from pursuing anything big, is like, this is fine for right now. This is fine.
Well, he just made it really obvious that we're not going to be happy feeling that way. Yeah, he was very, very dynamic. At the same time, he wasn't, it wasn't in a stressful, or a frantic kind of way. He was like, he had songs for everything. So he has one song, "Be not frantic, be dynamic." But he was very, he was definitely into, really, really valuing time and really doing, following your heart's inspiration. He said, you can't wait for the inspiration bird to land on your hand. You have to reach out and grab it, so it's like, if you have the inspiration to do something, do it. Take action. He said it's so much better to take action and to make mistakes than, than to not, than to sit around thinking about it and not do it. And he was not at all worried about perfection. He was like, perfection will come, just like, follow your inspiration, be brave, be daring, just try things. And it doesn't matter if you make mistakes. You can do it again and again, and eventually, just through action, you will make progress. You'll find the right way. You can, you might go this way, then this way, then this way, and then finally you're like, oh, I was meant to go that way. But it's much better to do that. And I think I think he said something about America in some ways, of really being like that, and he really loved that about America, that it's like, people might make a lot of mistakes, but they're really, eventually they'll get there, because they are, there is like dynamism, and there's this real forward movement, there's this eagerness and enthusiasm to move forward. And so he loved that. He loved that about America. He said, he's from India. He loves his country, but he said it's like, there's like Indian bullet cart speed, or that it's all kind of like, there's endless time, whereas in America, it's like, you have to get there now. You have to do it now. And that dynamism. He talked a lot about the integration of the East and the West, so integrating the best of both, and that the predominant quality of the Western world is dynamism, and then of the Eastern world obviously is spirituality. And so for those, that they need to come together for us to move forward as humanity, and to be the best that we can be.
Well, I love that it ties together two things that we're so passionate about, and moving the body and training the mind, and the two can work together, and then you can build this unstoppable, invincible mindset.
Well, we need both to be to have peace in ourselves, to have peace in the world, to be happy, to move forward. We need them both.
So someone's listening to this and they're like, I don't have faith in humanity right now. I'm kind of drowning over here. I don't think things are feeling, they don't feel good to me. How can they begin to, or how would you share how someone can start a practice and beginning to touch into that heart, what they love, what they dream, and trying to start figuring that out?
I mean, I would never be able to have hope for humanity without my practice of meditation. But when you do meditate, it's naturally, it's like attracts like. So if you just start with deep breathing, start with being still, start with, really trying to bring peace. Just, even breathing in peace, breathing out stress is like such a, just starting with your breath, just starting really simply, you'll see that it's not by thinking about and focusing on all of your negativities that you get rid of them, but it's really by instead taking your focus off the negative things and focusing on the light that you have within yourself and focusing on your, the good qualities. And so it's, I think it's something that kind of secretly builds if you just start by starting a practice of meditation, starting just, even for a small amount of time, like sitting still and really, believing that you have some light and some peace, and believing that you can just breathe it in and you can expand it inside yourself. And then, in your life, challenging yourself in some way, if you really meditate on it, there'll be something that you can do that would give you joy, that would be good for you, and in terms of sport, I mean, just the benefits even of going out for a half an hour walk are incredible compared to nothing, it's incredible. So just starting to do something that you like, something that you're inspired about, or take up a new sport, or do something that moves your body. And, I think it's amazing. And then ultimately, there's so many different things you can do, but we all have something that we can offer to the world, and it doesn't have to be something big. It can be something small. But, the famous quote of Kennedy, it's not what the world can do for you, but what you can do for the world. And so, instead of thinking, what can the world give me? What can I have to make me feel better? Think, what can I offer to the world? Even your smile, even through, even in the smallest way, there's always something that we can offer, and that really gives us so much more, gives us real fulfillment if we can feel like we're offering something.
So beautiful. Thank you. I think that's a wonderful way to sum it up and close it out. It's been such a lovely afternoon with you, having lunch. If you're ever in San Diego, this is down in Normal Heights. And tell us a little bit about the center before we sign off here, because I want people, if they're in the area, they can come and visit and have lunch and check out this learning center.
Yeah, so we're at Noble Learning. This is a relatively new little store. It has a lot of free meditation workshops here. It's in Normal Heights, so you can look online. There's also the Sri Chinmoy Centre itself we have another learning space close by where we give free meditation workshops, and then Jyoti Bihanga Restaurant is right here. So, and then we also have a little peace garden down the road from just down the road from here, where people can go and just sit and feel meditate and just feel peace. So
it's beautiful. Thank you so much, Harita. It's just been so lovely to meet you and to bring this podcast to fruition and to do it in person in this beautiful space. So thank you for inviting us down here and for traveling out to San Diego. That it just worked out so perfectly.
It did, and thank you. It's been it's always so encouraging when you meet like-minded people, and I feel I'm personally so blessed because I meet so many wonderful people all of the time. But to meet you guys, and just to see how much your life philosophy and life mission aligns with mine, and and with that of the Sri Chinmoy Centre. And I guess that's when you were saying about having hope for humanity. I think that if you find something that you can do and you can put your energy into, then automatically, you just feel so much better about the world if you really feel like you can make a difference. And I've seen that everywhere, time and time again, in so many ways. I've seen that people who are passionate about doing something, they can be working in the most devastating situations, like a refugee camp in Syria, as we were talking about, and they can just be full of hope for humanity. So I feel so blessed to see that this, and there are so many ways that we can do something. So what you guys are doing, what we're doing, we're all doing our little bit, and all those little bits are adding up.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Thank you so much.